What is going on, guys? So I've had a lot of time off. I guess the last week and a half I've basically been off, so just enjoying some family time, much needed family time, and also having some time off. I figured it'd be the perfect time to do a question and answer. I get a lot of questions in the comments. I even put out this community post and you guys like flooded this thing with comments, like so many comments. I've been going through them the last 2 or 3 days. So I figured instead of just picking like 10 questions, I'm just gonna kind of give you guys my background in the industry and where I've been and where I've came from. If anybody's new watching this video, there's a new viewer out there that's never seen my channel before. My credibility is that I have been driving since 2012 professionally. Both my parents have been drivers over the years. My father's been driving monster trucks since 1982. Like I said, myself, been driving since 2012. I've been 2014 Monster Jam Rookie of the Year. 2014 Young Gun Shootout Champion. 2015 World Finals Freestyle Champion. So I have some credibility behind me. I like to think of myself as professional. I just want to answer some of your guys' questions and your concerns. Or the number one thing is, how do I get in the industry? How do I become a driver? I hear that so many times, guys, and I was just fortunate enough to be born into it. So that's all I've ever known is monster trucks. My mom drove monster trucks, maybe a lot of you don't know, from 1993 to 1998. I did freestyle motocross for 10 years professionally, and I retired freestyle motocross in 2013 to decide to become a full-time monster truck driver. And I just figured it was the better decision to make. Freestyle motocross really wasn't going anywhere for me. I wasn't at the top level of it. And also the roll cage is a lot safer, so that's why I decided to become a full-time monster truck driver. But for anybody that really wants to become a monster truck driver, the only thing I can really tell you is find a nearby independent team that are looking for somebody. Even if you want to start by sweeping floors, Preston Perez came from pretty much starting at sweeping floors, organizing tools, and worked his way up to now he's a driver on a Monster Jam tour. So it's just, you never know unless you get out there and try to find a team and put your foot in the door. But yeah, I'm just gonna scroll through some of the questions here. Zacking 104. How do you feel about the fan judging? The fan judging, I mean, everybody has their doubts about every kind of system they have, whether it was the scorecards people held up or the fan judging. I mean, either way, people are going to complain about something, and you guys have to agree with that. I've gotten good scores from fan judging. I've gotten poor scores. It's hit or miss. It also depends on the city that you're in also. Some cities differ from other cities, and I don't think there's ever going to be a solid scoring system. So fan judging, it's working for now. A lot of people don't like it, but it's a show and you guys still enjoy it. That's what it's all about, really. Jody Ballou, which monster truck driver is the biggest? Don't get mad at me for cursing, because I'm just reading the question here. Which driver is? I'd have to say Matt Cody. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Matt. Brandon Carroll would like to know, hey Mike, had a good question. Will you be running the Small-More body in Monster Jam? No, the Small-More body was just strictly for Roman's house and doing that deal for him, and making some. So the Roman Atwood video was basically what that Small-More body was for. I still have the Small-More body. It's tucked away in a trailer, ready to go, whenever Roman wants to do something again. So I love that body though. It was a beautiful body. Okay, Doug Hopkins. So let's talk chassis. I'm a drag racer and I go through my chassis once a year because of the abuse that I give it. Now a monster truck takes way more punishment. Well, honestly, it all depends. Like Ryan Anderson goes through a chassis, I think, every 3 or 4 years. Don't exactly quote me on that, I'm pretty sure. My chassis is 6 years old, 6 seasons old. It all depends what you do to it, what type of chassis. My CRD chassis, I find it extremely tough, especially how my cradle is built, a little different. Always check for fatigue, and pretty much how any racing industry would do, but SFI approved, it's not nothing like that, but they do get teched in between every show. We do, like when we tore it down for powder coat, we check for cracks, fix some things that we thought were weak, and things like that. So it all depends what you do to the truck, honestly. But 6 years, overkill, still going strong. I think we got a few more years left in it. Next question. Good question, though. Stimson 122. What's been the highlight of your career so far, having won the Young Guns and the World Finals Championship? Is there anything else you'd like to achieve in monster trucks? Honestly, having won the World Finals Championship was like the highlight, the biggest highlight. My favorite highlight of my career was actually winning the Rookie of the Year through Monster Jam, because you only get one shot ever to do that. So the Rookie of the Year is my #1 prized award. Young Guns was my favorite win. It kind of put me on the map, you know. Really didn't have a name with Overkill at the time. We built this truck so fast, and then we got it out. We only had 11 weeks to really work with it, and got it to Young Guns and took the Young Guns Shootout Championship. So that meant the most to me, honestly, and it put me on the map. It put me on, you know, into the big show, and all the drivers coming down congratulating you and just pretty much welcoming you to be one of them, and that was just a great time. So Young Guns, definitely my favorite win, and the World Finals Championship was just awesome to win, because there's not very many people in the world that have accomplished that, and very fortunate, very fortunate to be where we are in the sport. And what I'd like to achieve in the future is honestly my YouTube. This YouTube channel is something I really appreciate and enjoy, and growing a family with you guys and becoming this V2 Vids Nation. That's my biggest next goal, is just to become a big YouTuber, and I really do enjoy it, and I enjoy entertaining you guys through it. So that would be my answer for that question. Good question. Kevin Tobbit, shout out. So you left your question on here, man. I just answered that one. What was your best moment in monster trucks? Flashing back, I think we just answered that. Muddy Water SC, what challenges did you overcome to get where you are today? I like that question. That's a deep question. You know, when I was ending my freestyle motocross career, and I really I really didn't know where I was going in life. You know, people in their 20s usually go through that, not knowing what was going to happen. You know, I made some poor decisions in my younger days, and ended up in a spot where it was tough, and I really didn't have much option. So I started working for my father, crewing, going on the road, started driving Iron Warrior. And at the time, I was actually living in the one corner of our garage, our fabrication garage in Maryland. I was living in the one room, and I basically made it my own little apartment. Didn't have much going on in my life, and I was very confused where I was going. And then Marty and my dad started getting together and talking about Overkill Evolution. And luckily, my dad and Marty put this truck together. They wanted to put me in the seat, and I became a big part of it and worked my butt off. We all worked our butts off getting that truck ready, and it was some of the hardest work I've ever done in my life. And you know, coming out of that deep, dark spot in life where you don't know where you're going to be, making poor decisions, and overcoming that and making something out of your life. So that would be about it, the turning point in my life. So that's it. MJB11, how did your very first show feel? Scary as hell. Nervous. My first show is actually Montreal Olympic Stadium in 2011. Before I really started driving, my dad let me go freestyle. I did a 5-minute freestyle. I can't even watch that footage today. I feel embarrassed watching it, but it was scary. First show being a stadium. Chad Leggett. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your last name correctly there. I was trying. Do you have any ideas that you're putting into Evo 2.0, the second Overkill evolution? Right now, it's just Marty and I have talked about it. There's a lot of thoughts and ideas turning, but it's going to be a few years off for that, guys. So there's not going to be a new Overkill out for a while, so don't get your hopes up about that. All right, Super Trucky. What's the story behind Overkill Evolution? Overkill has been around since the 80s. Marty Garza started Overkill in the 80s, and then it's been Overkill. Then there was Maximum Overkill in the early 90s, and then through like the mid 90s, there was Extreme Overkill. And now this is basically Overkill Evolution, the next step. So that's where the evolution comes from. So Overkill's been around 30 years, and then Evolution is just the next step of it. So that's why the alien. Braden Godfrey, what is your favorite Canadian spot to run since you're half-blooded? Well, I'm full American, my wife's Canadian. We're actually in the new house we built right now up here in Carleton Place. My favorite spot in Canada to run the trucks, I've never really been to the west side of Canada. I've always done out east from Newfoundland to central Ontario. My favorite spot in Canada would have to be Montreal Olympic Stadium. Blake R., what would be a different body style that you would want to run? Honestly, I like the Super Duty. The Super Duty was my choice from the beginning. A 150 maybe. I like the pickup bodies. They're super simple. You see like the Escalade bodies and SUVs. That's just a lot of fiberglass to fix if you mess up. I mean, the 3D bodies, like, man, I don't know. I just enjoy the pickup bodies. It's simple. You know, everybody likes a pickup truck, and it's just clean looking. That's just what I enjoy to run. Troy Kraft. Who is your hero / role model in the monster truck industry or history? Monster truck history. I would have to say the first wild man, Scott Hess, and he tore it up. I mean, he was always out there giving it 150% every time he was running. So honestly, my favorite old school driver. Recently, when I started becoming a driver, was getting interested in driving, my favorite driver and was Damon Bradshaw. I mean, he was the smoothest. I mean, you could see the Supercross in his style of driving, and that's what I really admired, is jumping and landing and being really controlled. That's just who I look up to in monster trucks, was Damon Bradshaw, Scott Hess. Charles Jones, what is the hardest part of being a monster truck driver? So definitely being away from family is the hardest part about being a monster truck driver. Oh, Kai the Guy, what's up, man? I just answered that. What would you say the toughest part about being a monster truck driver is, and being away from family, for sure. Porky 351, when did you try your first moonwalk? Last year in San Antonio 2019. Started doing them, and I really enjoy them as a driver, so last January is when I started doing moonwalks. SLD RC, are you going to get a Primal RC Raminator? A lot of people have been asking me about this Primal Raminator. I know Kevin Tobbit just got one, RC Sparks, he just got one, or he's had one. Actually, how about this? If I make it to 100,000 subscribers by December, I will buy one for you guys. Everybody that's asked me that. So give me to 100,000 subscribers and we're getting a Primal Raminator. A Cyborg Eye, what got you into the RC hobby and which one is your favorite? I've honestly always been into RC cars. When I was little, I had Clodbusters and things like that. And then there's a long gap where I didn't have RC cars. And then back in 2016, I got a Traxxas X-Max. I was coming back from Vegas. We went to Louisiana. I actually had a display at a hobby shop, and they had an X-Max up on the shelf. They gave it to me for half price. I was like, heck yeah. So then that really got me started back into it. And then I became friends with Kevin Tobbit, and watching his videos and hanging out with him just basically has me straight sucked back into it. And it goes really well with the YouTube channel and monster trucks. I really enjoy them, and my favorite one is the X-Max for sure. I love all my RC cars, but the X-Max is the boss. Toby Arneson, what is the worst thing you accidentally crashed into? My first time I drove, I talked about freestyle back in 2011 in Montreal. Olympic Stadium was the first time I drove in a show. Like I said, I went out and did a 5-minute freestyle. Didn't hurt the truck. I didn't go that big, but I didn't hurt the truck. The truck was perfectly fine. I was driving back to the pit area. The pit car, the toolbox was parked right there in the pit area, and there's a big concrete pillar. And when you freestyle for a long time and you use your brakes a lot, they get really hot and you lose your brakes. And I wasn't used to that, I wasn't aware of that. And then I was going back to the pit area, going for my brakes. That's why it's always, you gotta be cautious around trucks that get done running. They may lose their brakes, and if they're really hot, so watch out for that. And my brakes were completely going, pulling back into the pit area. The truck didn't stop, it slammed into the toolbox, the pit cart. And then the front right tire hit a huge concrete pillar that was in the stadium. It bent the four-link, ripped the front drive shaft out of it, pushed the whole axle back under the truck. And that was that was probably the most embarrassing moment and worst thing I ever crashed into so far in my career. And man, I can't believe I told you all that. So watch your brakes, make sure they don't get hot. Ruben Bailey, how high have you ever gone in a Monster Jam truck? That one in Vegas I did in 2015, that was the highest I've ever been. And you have a lot of time when you're going up, 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 and you see everything dropping away from you through your floor. It's like, wow, I am very, very high right now. And it came down, felt like a car wreck when it came down, and it was basically one hell of a ride. So that was the highest I've ever been in the truck. Nothing too extremely entertaining in this video, but just having some time off, enjoying some time off. My next video will be an RC video. Just waiting on some parts to get in because I guess I'm too hard on all my RC cars and now I need parts. So I'm gonna stock up. So please drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.